I've heard other people make this joke before, and it's true. It's wild how life has gotten so crazy that you can watch an episode of Black Mirror and just be like, okay. I would be so ignorant if I had some of this technology, and we are talking spoilers, so if you have not watched this yet, go watch it and then come back. Black Mirror is a show that I've been watching for years at this point. I found out about it around the time that I graduated from college. I started watching Black Mirror back in 2016 when season 3 came out because everyone on the internet was like, oh my God, you gotta watch this show called Black Mirror. Black Mirror is incredible. So I checked it out and I started with season 1, and I feel like I had the same experience that a lot of people had. I thought I was being trolled. I really thought people was playing with me because I'll never forget the first time that I watched Black Mirror. I started with season 1, episode 1, and the very first episode of this entire series is about this politician that gets forced to have sex with a pig. And back then, I didn't realize that each episode of Black Mirror was its own thing. So I thought this entire series that everybody was praising was based around this politician having sex with a pig. So I almost stopped watching, but I'm glad that I didn't because some of the high points of Black Mirror might be some of the best television that I've ever seen. If I had to pick some of my favorite episodes of Black Mirror, I would definitely say Playtest from season 3. I love video games. White Bear from season 2 really messed me up when I first saw that. Nosedive in season 3, again, really good. And I'm kind of embarrassed about it because I really love this episode and I don't know why. But San Junipero, I believe that was the name of it in season 3. I love that episode. I feel like this show is kind of hard to review because each episode is its own thing. And I guess I could make a video talking about each particular episode more in depth, but this video is going to be more of my general thoughts because I don't want this video to be an hour long. The first episode, Common People, in my opinion, was incredible. Common People was such a great episode, and this is the type of stuff that really made me fall in love with this series because they take us to this fantasy world, they show us all this great technology, usually everything is going well, and then they hit us with this twist. Because I was watching this episode at my job because, you know, I work so hard when I'm on the clock, but this episode was hilarious. So what this episode is hilarious, you have this married couple and the wife, played by Rashida Jones, she gets sick and she collapses, and so the husband goes and talks to Tracee Ellis Ross' character, and her character works for this company, and they have this technology where they put people's brains in like a cloud server or something like that, and she tells the husband, I can bring your wife back to life, but you need to pay the subscription service. And everything seems to be going well, and then the company does what companies in real life actually do. They create a subscription service, they add tiers to the subscription service, and then they keep raising the price up. But I thought this episode was great. I thought it was hilarious, but also kind of a slap in the face because Netflix in real life seems to be raising their prices up every other week at this point. But this episode really messed me up. Like when the wife was on the lower tier, she started sleeping more. She'll be living her life and then she'll just randomly start saying advertisements out loud, which was hilarious to me. But Tracee Ellis Ross' character in this episode, I hope she rots in hell for all of eternity. I hope companies like that in real life all burn in hell because they kept making things so much worse for this couple. They introduced you to a cheaper, you know, basic subscription, and then like in real life, they keep adding stuff and taking away stuff from you and saying, well, yeah, we can make things better for you, but you got to upgrade and you got to pay a little more. The couple was also struggling to make money, so the husband was doing this streaming platform where he was doing weird stuff like pulling his teeth out and drinking piss and things like that to make money. This was just an overall great episode in my opinion from start to finish. That ending, just a great episode. I can keep talking about this episode, but like I said, I don't want this video to be too long. But this was a really strong start to this season. And then they immediately ruined it with episode 2. So then we get to episode 2, and I don't know how to pronounce the title, so I'm not even going to embarrass myself, but I did not like this. So with this episode, we follow this woman and she works for a food company. She helps make snacks or something like that. And then this girl that she knew from high school randomly appears. She somehow ends up getting a job, and then things get really weird. I did like the mental games that were being played in this episode, but when it comes to the overall story, I just didn't care. I just didn't really like this episode. I noticed really early on that whenever something was happening that she was very obviously touching her necklace, so I knew something involving her necklace. I don't know if that's what kind of ruined it for me. Like, I know Black Mirror in general is science fiction, it's fantasy, I completely understand that, but for this episode, you have to really turn your brain off. The last like 3 or 4 minutes of this was so bad to me. Like, this episode just went from 0 to 60 randomly out of nowhere. Like, I thought the shootout with the cops was stupid. The very last scene where she's the Empress, I thought that was stupid and it looked terrible. I did not like this at all. Great acting, nothing against the actors. Like the only thing that I pulled away from this episode, and I don't even know if it's true, but on Twitter, it's the conversation right now between the Barneys and Bernies, and it's people saying that Netflix is playing with viewers. I can't confirm if it's true. I saw this on Twitter, but for me, when I watched this episode, at the very beginning, the hat clearly showed Barneys, and then later in the episode, it showed Bernies. For some people on Twitter, they're claiming they had the opposite. People are posting pictures and videos of the hat at the very beginning saying Bernies, and then later it switches to Barneys. I don't know if it's true, but if Netflix is actually playing with people in real life with Bernies and Barneys, that's cool as hell. But I didn't really like episode 2. And then we get to episode 3, where we get this woke, DEI, pandering, inclusive bullshit. I'm joking. So for episode 3, this is the episode that stars Issa Rae, and I loved everything about this episode except for Issa Rae. And I feel terrible for saying that, because from what I've seen from Issa in like interviews and stuff like that, she seems like a really cool, dope person, but I just don't like her acting in anything that I've seen her in. Like the white woman, I don't know her name, but the woman that she was acting alongside in this episode, she was acting circles around her. So I loved everything about this episode outside of Issa Rae, but the technology that they had in this episode I thought was really cool, even though it makes absolutely no sense. Like again, you have to turn your brain off for this episode, because why would you make a remake of a movie, keep everything the exact same except for one character? I thought the story for this was really good. I love the thought of the actor having to stay on script and then seeing behind the scenes everybody trying to do workarounds to make sure that the movie is moving along. And then the actress that played Claire, and I think that was her name in this, but her character kind of breaking out of her programming and becoming her own thing, her own person. I thought this was a great episode. I loved everything about this episode. Unfortunately, but Issa Rae. I did feel like this episode didn't need to be so long. I think this episode was like an hour and 5 minutes or something like that. It did feel like it kind of stretched in a few parts, but overall, I thought this was a great episode. If that technology was real, I would be so ignorant with that. I would probably be in like Rush Hour 2 or something like that. I'd probably trade places with Chris Tucker, you know what I'm saying? If you know, you know. And then we get episode 4, Plaything, and I have not talked to anyone about this season. I haven't read any reviews, so I don't know if I'm tripping, but I actually like this episode. I feel like if any of the episodes, I feel like this would be the one that I feel like the internet probably wouldn't like that much, but I enjoyed this episode. I love video games, so I don't know if that's why I enjoyed this so much, but I also love that they connected this back to the Black Mirror movie, Bandersnatch, and we also got a quick cameo from my dog, Will Poulter. I thought that was a very underrated movie. I feel like it got a lot of hate online because people just didn't understand it. Like a lot of people that I saw that complained about it, they were like, well, it wasn't really a choose your own adventure because they were kind of forcing us into making certain decisions. And I'm like, that's literally the point. We, the viewer, think we're in control of the characters and making them make decisions, when in reality, it's Black Mirror and it's Netflix making us make decisions because we think we got free will and we think that we're in control of everything, and never mind. But this episode was a pretty straightforward story. It's like the whole time you're watching, you're just kind of like, what's happening? How is this going to end? Where is this story going? But we get this guy who purposely gets arrested, and through his interrogation, we learn that this character, he's been addicted to a video game featuring these characters called Throngs. If my memory is correct, I think that was the name. Usually when it comes to like movies and TV shows, I'm pretty good at predicting what's going to happen. But when it comes to this, I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea what direction we were actually going, because most of this episode is through flashbacks, and we learn through the interrogation the story of how we got to this exact point. And I did not know what was going on. I mean, who doesn't love video games and acid? But I thought this episode was cool. It wasn't the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life, but it was cool because I was just trying to figure out what's actually going on. But the ending does have me a little confused, because at the end, the Throng, the video game, whatever, it kind of takes over the country, the world, the city, whatever. And then the episode just kind of ends. Okay. And then we get to episode 5, Eulogy. And I don't know if this is going to piss people off, but I thought this episode was really boring. When it comes to the story of this episode, I did not give a damn about what was going on. Like, I believe this episode was the second shortest of this season. it felt the longest. And I feel kind of bad saying that I don't care because this episode stars my guy, Paul Giamatti. I think he's an incredible actor, legendary actor. But the story for this episode is about this guy who gets a phone call saying that somebody from his past has passed away, and he gets this technology that allows him to travel inside of photos. And through this story, we learn his complicated relationship with this woman that he's in love with, and I do not care. Maybe I need to watch it again. Maybe I just wasn't in the right state of mind because I was on my phone a lot through this episode. I was really bored. I also figured out pretty early on that the AI or the guide in this story was probably the daughter in some way, shape, or form. That wasn't really surprising. I feel like Black Mirror has a lot of episodes based around romance, and I feel like I've just seen this done better before. Like I remember in season 1, it was an episode, I think it's called like The Entire History of You or something like that. That episode really messed me up. If you haven't seen that, it's an episode where you can get this implant and it basically records everything you see, everything you say, everything you hear, everything you do. That episode was way more interesting to me. I thought the acting in this episode was amazing. I thought the production of this episode was amazing. The technology was interesting, even though I thought it could have been done better. The story, just not for me. The last episode, U.S.S. Callister Until Infinity, bruh. I really want to know what the budget looks like for a Black Mirror season, especially because every episode is its own thing. This episode is basically a movie in a TV show. This episode was incredible, and it follows one of my previous favorite episodes, the U.S.S. Callister from season 4. I get to look at my boo, Cristin Milioti. She is fine as hell. My boy, Jesse Plemons, is back. He is such an amazing actor. He's one of those actors that actually scare me in real life because I'm pretty sure he's killed somebody before. But this episode obviously builds off of the last one, and this really takes us for a ride. The acting from, I think his name is Jimmy Simpson, he was also incredible in this. This episode was really messed up. This is a dark episode. This is also the longest episode of the season. I believe this was an hour and a half. I wish it was even longer. You have the same characters from the previous episode of U.S.S. Callister, and we pick up with them struggling to survive in this new server or whatever they're in. They go around robbing players because they need credits for resources, and the ultimate goal is to get them on their own private server so they can be together and out of danger. But for normal players, when you play this game, if you die, it's no big deal. You just restart, no issue. But for the main characters that we follow, they actually bleed, and if they die, they're dead. And God, I wish this technology was real. To be able to be inside that video game would be incredible. And then if I could get my hands on that DNA cloning machine, do not ask me why. But we learned the reasoning why all of this stuff is happening in this world, and it's really dark. So we get to the heart of the game, and once we get there, we get this version of Jesse Plemons' character, and we learn that he's been there forever. He's the reason why this game is able to operate in the way that it does. Basically, he's God in this universe. So the video game version of Jesse Plemons learns about the real life version of Jesse Plemons, and he starts to hear all these stories about himself. He's starting to question himself. He's saying, you know, I'm a good guy, I'm a good person. And then you see the way that he talks, you see the way that he acts, and you might kind of be like, man, maybe this guy is kind of different. Maybe he is a different person. Maybe he is a good guy. And then you remember he's played by Jesse Plemons. So Jesse's character gives Cristin's character this test. He wants to see if she's a good person or not. She ends up passing. He tells her that I can save you. I can save your friends. Everything is going to be okay. Everything seems good until he says, I'm going to copy and paste you. That alerts a red flag. In Cristin's mind, she says, don't you mean cut and paste, not copy and paste? And basically he was going to copy a version of her, I believe, so he can have somebody to keep him company, if you catch my drift. And then the episode pretty much ends with Jesse's character dying. The video game is ultimately destroyed. The real life version of Cristin's character gets into a car accident and she gets placed into a coma. The virtual Cristin ends up going and teleporting inside of her body. And so Cristin is now in the real world, but all of her friends that were also with her on the U.S.S. Callister, they are still inside her so they can see everything that she sees. And I have to imagine that's really awkward. But it's so much more to talk about with this episode and some of the other ones, but I don't know if I'm gonna ultimately make a video breaking down each one, but it's so much more to talk about. Like I said, this is just my general thoughts for the season. But overall, I thought this was a really great season. There was a lot of great production, a lot of top tier acting in this, and now I'm kind of back on the Black Mirror train. So if they do, or not if, but when they announce season 8, I'm actually gonna be excited about it. So good job, Netflix. But thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe if you're new here. We talk about a bunch of different things on this channel. What are your thoughts on this season? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Also, remember, in episode 2, did your hat at the beginning say Barney's or Bernie's, or is Twitter just lying? If I had to rank my favorite episodes, it would probably be the U.S.S. Callister, Common People, Hotel Reverie, I think that's how you pronounce it, the Issa Rae episode, Plaything, Eulogy, and then the food one. That's my order, but let me know yours in the comment section below. Love you guys. As always, remember to tell somebody that you love them. Until next time, see you in the next life.